Okay, here is Jim Fiedler, everybody.
Now we... Okay, now where is the video to start this off with?
Whenever you
Okay, go. Okay, this is. Go ahead, Dan. This, I'll read it. This following program.
put your microphone to you.
Okay, this is best thing I could find for 4 minutes of silence and watch this. It's not chronological, it's just has every different kinds of things. So, I heard people everywhere say things like this.
Hey, Matt. What is that? Somebody hit the World Trade Center or the World Trade Center?
Yeah.
Does that work better?
I need to get here.
You did? Was it a plane? That's what I was thinking. It was a terrorist attack.
Immediately, there's speculation or cause for concern. This is the World Trade Center that was the center of the terrorist bombing some years ago. So the questions have to be asked, was this purely an accident or could this have been an intentional act? But either way,
Oh my God. Oh my God.
At that moment, everybody knew.
Hold on just a moment. We've got an explosion inside.
Look up the lesson. 60 on page 153.
you do have some videotape of the second plane, and you can see there. Where? I can see it. Oh, whoa. We're under attack. From our vantage point, they're clearly difficult to tell. We're under attack. It is, but it's a horrific scene. And
Anyway, we just been told also about the story. The New York Stock Exchange is being evacuated, as is, I'm sure, much of Wall Street, not all of it, as much as possible. But the New York Stock Exchange has suspended trading for the next year.
Today we've had a national tragedy. 2 airplanes crashed into the World Trade Center in an apparent terrorist attack on our country.
David, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but we're looking at live pictures of the Pentagon where
Well, everything in there happened, and different series and stuff, and can go to, and I can go back and forth on this. I want to introduce a few people. Let me see.
Rebecca, stand up.
Rebecca was working for Cantor Fitzgerald.
She was working for Cantor Fitzgerald, and she was at home with Maisie, who was 2 weeks old on maternity leave. She would not be here if it would have been a month later. And so that's
Or a month earlier.
a month earlier, but she would have been back. So we'll have more to talk about her bringing up and all of the things that we saw. And she was not at the building at the time, but she's got plenty to say about it.
Okay, maybe I need to-
Well, you were gonna say where he was.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to identify where I am. I don't have a pointer. It doesn't work, but I was right here, okay? And that was, yeah, right here. And this was the world, the first one, number one, right here.
That's where I work.
Walk on
Yeah.
after some.
Yeah, and so to back it off, I would say the room from this to this was about as far as from this wall to that wall. And I'll talk later about how my day went that.
It was a 4-lane highway that separated.
A 4-lane highway, but worse than that, well, I'll go into it a little bit later. But the Winter Garden was a glass building, and this is the Hudson River down here. And I'm wearing a shirt that they do on the MyMax floor that they had, and I just brought this along for fun. I worked upstairs, and I wasn't yelling and screaming on the floor. But it was right over here. And it's all in, to tell you, the first one was here at
846.
8:46, and then the second one hit here, and it was 9:03 or something like that. Okay? Yeah.
Where's my day?
Right here.
Oh,
Right here.
okay. One more second. The market of the Dynamics opens at 9 a.m. and it would close at 2:30. And so it's the difference in this is when it was when the planes hit and stuff, and who was in them and who wasn't. But I'll go into that a little bit. I would come down on the subway and get to the market about 8 o'clock and be calling friends and customers and telling them what would be happening over the next day. And at that time, I worked for this company, ED&F Man. It was the largest on the floor at that time. And I would get in and call some customers and stuff like that and give them the open. And then a good friend Mike on Long Island called me and said, are you watching the telephone? And I said, no, why? He said, well, a plane apparently hit the World Trade Center. And I said, really? And we both thought, well, it'd be like the plane that hit the Empire State Building, and it didn't do much damage a long time ago. And he said he'd been watching TV, and I walked about over where I was standing was about as far as the other place, and there was a big desk that came out like keys, and we had people sitting on both sides. So what I did, I walked down and looked up, and I saw smoking coming out of the floor. And I don't know if I tried to get Rebecca or I did. It was really hard then for people. Later you could get phones, but you couldn't get phones to
You
call.
called immediately,
I called immediately.
got the voicemail or the answering machine,
Yeah,
and I called you back after I heard, I said your building's on fire.
yeah, I said her building's on fire.
Call me, and I
Call
called
me.
you right back, and I got through to you. The phones are still working.
Yeah, and I never called the place before until I was up on 14th Street at the, where it was our maternity place. What do you call it?
Birthing center.
What?
The
Birthing center, the birthing center.
Captain said, tell them that you couldn't see the plane actually go in because it came from the other side.
Okay. The reason I couldn't see, the people that were on the close end of the counter, they all ran over and looked down. I ran over and looked up and saw the smoke. The people that were down that area, they looked down and they saw the explosion come out at the bottom of the building, which was amazing. And at that time, where was I going next now? Oh. Yeah, so the plane came straight down.
The second plane.
Yeah, the first plane came straight down from the north. It came right down into Manhattan, coming down and hit the World Tire 1. I couldn't see it, and nobody really could from our side, but the people on the other sides and the one screens you see was what it was like. About that time, now this is getting personal, I worked for the company and the president of the American company, ED&F Man. It was an English company. And then the treasurer and another person that headed up our trading thing. And they said, get out. And they told everybody to evacuate they get everybody to get out. And they were told to go down the stairs. But I was laying behind, and the three guys, everybody else went down the stairs. And so I was walking with them, and they said, well, you know, they started to go on this elevator, and I said, you shouldn't do that, should you? And he said, I don't know, all three of us went to the basement. So we beat them down. And the people who walked down, all the rest of the people had to go down 27 floors on stairs. And you can imagine how crowded it was. And we always tell the story about Tina Marie, who had high heels and was going down and slow. And one of the guys said, Tina Marie, take off those shoes or I'm going to throw you over my shoulder and carry you down. and so she made it down. But when they came out, of all things, I came out safely. I came out where the building went in and you could go out the back way and all this stuff. And I went down where they had the limousines pick people up and you could see. And my vision was pretty blocked. And so we kind of split up. But the people who came out on the street, they came right into the road.
The West Side Highway.
And what's the West Side Highway, the four-lane thing, and some of them saw people hitting the floor, jumping from there, right in that time. It's horrible, horrible, horrible. And then I was walking back like in a circle, and we were just killing time.
Show them where the circle is.
Oh.
It's right there. Yeah.
Right there was where I was standing. That's right where I was standing, and the people that came out this way went up here and out this way. So they were walking down the sidewalk right across from the building. I never saw that. I came out here and out this way, and there was the guy stationed at the elevator saying, "Go back up, you'll be safer. Go back up, you'll be safer." Nobody paid any attention. But then, I guess it was about 9:03, and I didn't say, this was probably the prettiest day of the year or you ever seen. The skies were absolutely blue, and it was so wonderful. And so I was there just killing time to go back up, and I saw a plane coming down from the other end up the East River. And I didn't think much about it because there was smoke from the first one. And I just thought, well, they must have changed the flight, the flight path into LaGuardia. And so here I am watching the plane go in, and it hit, and all of a sudden it was like it just went right through the building. And from my depth perception, I thought it just scaped it. Now you can see in the other movies we had that they hit where it hit right in the center. But what they did, I was afraid that Rebecca was up on 47th Street, up 2nd Avenue, and probably the plane, if it would side-scrape, it would have gone all the way up before it hit the ground. So I was concerned and trying to go back to see how she was. So at that moment, all the people have been talking about where it is, who would have done it, a million different things. As soon as that plane hit that building, everybody knew exactly it was sabotage. It was not one person said anything or said that, what happened. They all knew then. And so at that time, I just figured, everybody was getting out. And I started walking north and walked around. And I got up somewhere, and I was looking over the Winter Garden, and over the garden, in back of it, there was a standing that you could look over it and look at the World Trade One. And there was a lot of people there watching. And I said, "What are you watching?" And they said, "People jumping out." And I looked out, and I saw 1 to 2 people jump out, and I just turned around and started walking up to the 47th Street. And I got up pretty far and never looking back. And the birthing hospital was on 14th Street, and that's when I walked up, and I was turned to go over to it, but I passed one of the other streets, and I looked down at where, and I walked over to the guy, and I said, "Can't you see the World Trade Centers from here?" He said, "No, they're gone." That's the way I found out it had fallen. I didn't see it fall, I just got out. Then I walked to, like I said before, I walked to where I said before that Rebecca, I called her and said, "Close the windows and get away from anything," and I'm walking up. And so I turned up 2nd Street, and I walked just, kind of like a zombie. And it was early because we probably was 11 o'clock then, or because it happened so fast and everybody got out, or they didn't get out, and they didn't. So work just went ahead. But there was no cars. The only cars you saw coming down the west side were ambulances, and they weren't needed. There was no people really lived out of it.
But anyway, Mimi asked me if it was people walking around or not. I was walking in the middle of the street, and there wasn't anybody on the street. A few people would be a little bit ahead of me. Yeah, this is, I can show you. Thanks, Mimi. Here's the World Trade, and I was all the way up here where I walked, just a little bit higher up there, over by the United Nations. Yeah, there you go. That's where I walked, from here up there.
Well, remember you said you were worried because your apartment was so close to the UN?
Oh,
that
yeah.
would be a challenge.
Yeah, there was another target. We certainly figured we were right in the middle of it. Our apartment was right between the Israeli embassy and the United Nations. So if there would be any movement more coming on, that was what I was expecting. Now, any questions so far?